The past 2 years for Microsoft Flight Simulator have been amazing, and 2022 was no exception. A bunch of world updates, a selection of sim updates, a couple of surprises, and of course all rounded off with the 40th anniversary edition helicopters and gliders. This video then is going to be my rambling thoughts on 2022 as a whole. So if you enjoy that type of content, please do stick around, I'd love to have you here. The year then has been a very interesting one for the sim, to say the least. Not only were there a whole selection of content and updates which we'll get into in just a moment, we also saw Microsoft change their approach somewhat to the release cadence for updates. This came about to releasing updates somewhat too fast, something you tend not to hear when it comes to games development. But yeah, they were releasing a few too many updates it seemed, and this was having some negative consequences, delivering performance problems as well as numerous bugs. These, naturally, didn't affect everyone, but they affected a few too many people, so ultimately Microsoft and Asobo took the decision to slow things down somewhat. I don't think we've fully seen the positive impact of that just yet. There's a few issues that do still need ironing out, but hopefully over the early part of 2023 we will see many of those problems finally fixed, specifically the performance-related problems that I know are affecting a whole selection of console players out there. There's also a long selection of outstanding bugs, some of which you can see on the screen right here. Ultimately then, I feel that Asobo and Microsoft taking a decision to slow down the release cadence of updates was really the right thing to do, and as I said, hopefully over the coming months we will see the positive impact of that. In terms of 2022, we saw a great year, a whole load of world updates, starting with World Update 7, focusing on Australia, bringing the updates to the Southern Hemisphere, something I'm hoping we'll see more of over the coming year. Later, we moved on to World Update 8. This was a focus on Europe again, this Iberia, Spain and all that area, so the southern part of the European continent. World Update 9, again focusing on Europe, saw us have a look at Italy and Malta. I think World Updates 8 and 9 were both really good. We then hit a bit of a snag, World Update 10, which I think was pretty nice in terms of some of the landscape, but I don't think it went anywhere near as far as it perhaps could have done, this being World Update 10, Canada. Now, some of the northern parts of Canada, specifically the more mountainous areas, I was hoping to see some improved terrain, and this really didn't happen. We can see in a comparison video I did at the time, it wasn't quite having the impact I initially hoped. Also, in terms of the cities, all the world updates do bring photogrammetry improvements to cities. In terms of that, Jörg Newman, head of Microsoft Flight Simulator, recently said that both he and the entire team were very disappointed with the Canadian update, largely because that the photogrammetry data really was a bit of a problem. So this is something they're committed to fixing in the future, hopefully as a part of future city updates, but we'll see exactly how they decide to roll that out as we get into 2023. Now, another standout thing for me for 2022 was the Halo Pelican being introduced into the sim. This one perhaps somewhat controversial amongst certain sections of the community, largely because seeing a sci-fi ship introduced into a pretty or very serious flight sim may have felt a little bit misplaced. But I know a lot of people did enjoy seeing this, and the connection between two of Microsoft's greatest franchises was very nice to see indeed. I suspect this is something we'll see more of as we move forward with the sim. Probably not something that will happen so often as to cause a problem. I suspect Microsoft are going to be very cautious about that, but I doubt the Halo Pelican crossover is going to be the last such crossover. In fact, 2022 also saw a crossover with Top Gun Maverick. So this introduced an entirely different section to the sim with its own unique challenges. The addition of aircraft carriers as well was also another very nice touch. Now, the introduction of Top Gun related content made me wonder about something else, and this is whether or not Microsoft will return to this specific content in the future. They're going to return to it perhaps for further refinement, and they could obviously do a whole lot with aircraft carriers, for example, and add a whole different other dynamic to the sim. Whether or not they do that remains to be seen, but it seems a bit of wasted potential if they don't return to it. But either way, no room for complaint there, as after all of this content, in fact all of these updates are entirely free. Anyway, moving on, for me the highlight of the year really was the 40th anniversary edition, which released in November. Again, another free update. This would be a massive expansion for any other sim or game out there, and likely be a payable update as well. After all, a huge amount of work went into this, requiring some fundamental shifts in the way the in-sim world is actually simulated. So yeah, the 40th anniversary edition brought with it helicopters as well as gliders. And whilst helicopters have been with Microsoft Flight Simulator for quite a while, up until the 40th anniversary edition they were not natively supported, so yeah, very nice improvement. And talking of improvements, there was another technical improvement this year, and that was the introduction of NVIDIA DLSS support. So for those simmers with NVIDIA graphics cards, this provided a nice performance increase due to the resolution upscaling technology that it brought along with it. And I know this was something of huge benefit to VR users, something I know they greatly appreciated. So all in all then, yes, 2022 was a really nice year. Looking forward to seeing where we go with 2023. Now currently, as you can see on the screen right here, we've got a very basic roadmap, but it's all going to thin out over time and we'll get a bit of an idea of more of what to expect. There's going to be a selection of world updates then. We're starting with New Zealand in February. We've got some other aircraft coming along, some local legends and famous flyers as well, and then some sim updates as well. For those of you curious about the AAU one update, these are avionics updates. They're going to be worked on pretty heavily by Working Title, who are working alongside Asobo and Microsoft, but there's going to be a lot of other work going in there as well. So these will be huge airplane focused updates that should bring a lot of improvements to the aircraft and their functionality. Additionally, as you can see here, there's a number of surprises scattered throughout the year as well, with another one coming in February, so not too long away to see what that is. We know from previous surprises that some of them can be fairly small, but others can be very nice indeed. So again, we'll see how all of that goes. You'll also probably have noticed a distinct lack of mention of sim updates on this particular roadmap. We can see just one, I think, sim update 12 coming in March, so not sure where all the rest of those are. It could be a case that they've just been missed off the roadmap here, or that Microsoft are not sure where to place them. Equally, it could also be that the avionics updates are intended to replace certain sim updates. At any rate, there we have it, a bit of a rambling video on my thoughts for 2022 and a little bit of a look at the coming year in Microsoft Flight Simulator as well. Do let me know your thoughts and feelings about 2022 as a whole for the sim in the comment section below. Which aspects of the sim have you enjoyed the most? Which updates have you really liked to see? As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.